What up, Homedawgs? My name is Gokey Gamer, coach of the Milwaukee Metachamps, and welcome to week 3 of the SPDA Luxury Ball Division, where this week we're going to be battling Zach Mander and the Canadian Cerro Ledges. This matchup is yet another tough one with a bunch of major threats. Zach's team consists of Spectrier, Sneasler, Garchomp, Metagross, Hatterene, an Iron Jugulis that can turn into a flying, electric, or fairy type, Rotom Heat, Blastoise, a male Indeedee that can turn into a fairy, psychic, or fighting type, and a Jumpluff to round things out. Spectrier and Sneasler make for an already a very scary duo, but combine that with Terra, male Indeedee, setting up the terrain, not just for Unburden and anti-priority, but also to boost psychic attacks from Metagross and Hatterene, as well as the terrifying Terra, Iron Jugulis, Garchomp, and even Jumpluff make for a very terrifying team. It's gonna be a tough team to break for sure, but hopefully we've got the team to counter it. Surprisingly enough, I'm actually not bringing Rillaboom to counter terrain in this game. However, I don't think I'll even need to bring my own terrain, as Pokemon like Assault Vest Ursaluna, Terra Normal Toxtricity, and Lumberry Gouging Fire can go absolutely ham this week, especially when combined with Bronzong and Colossal to help with Chip and Grimmsnarl for Prankster priority, but also a max attack build with 2 stab moves just in case the psychic terrain is up. If you'd like a more detailed team breakdown, then consider checking out my Ko-fi page where you'll find 8-minute team breakdowns for all my battles, as well as receive access to battles early if you become a member. Any support you're able to give is always immensely appreciated. Also, full transparency before heading into this game, unfortunately I failed to notice that my microphone was off, so this battle will unfortunately be post-commentary. However, I can say with a certainty that you will still enjoy this extremely hyper-offensive game. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and head into the battle. Hey everybody, so as you heard from the intro, this is going to be a post-commentary video, which I do apologize for, but I will say this battle was a ton of fun to do. So without any further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and hop into it and just have some fun. So, we're going to see that my opponent brings Sneasler, Metagross, Spectrier, Garchomp, Indeedee, and the Iron Jugulis. So overall, this is an extremely terrifying team. These are full of the Pokemon that I was the most afraid of. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, I was adjusting my thing. But yes, these are the Pokemon that I was most afraid of. Metagross in particular was a Pokemon that I was really scared about. I also don't like seeing both of my Terra Caps here, or well, both of the other opponent's Terra Caps. Obviously, Sneasler and Spectrier being here as well. Garchomp is extremely terrifying too. These are pretty much the 6 that I least wanted to see. So going into this, I'm already thinking about, okay, how am I going to, what's my best counter to these things, what's my best lead, etc. And I eventually realized, you know what? Like, my Ursaluna does a lot of damage against literally everything. I can hit everything super effectively. I have the Assault Vest, which will take care of the special attackers. Even if there's, like, the Sneasler comes in, I have the perfect switch in Bronzong, and I don't think Sneasler is going to be the lead, but my guess is it would be Unburden if it was an Indeedee male as there as well. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and lead my Ursaluna and call it a day. So that's exactly what I'm going to end up doing here. So in here, I say good luck up to my opponent as well, which that is a very funny card as well, I might add. And we're going to see that my opponent's lead is one of the scariest Pokemon on their team, Metagross. And I'm immediately like, this is the best case scenario for me. All I have to do is simply click Headlong Rush. I'm not going to overthink it here. I have Guts in this game. So I only have Guts, which is fine. I am, in this particular case, I don't need Bulletproof. So I'm like, okay. The worst thing that this game could do to me is probably click Hammer Arm. I'm just clicking Headlong Rush because guess what? This thing could just die here. We're going to see a knockoff, which is unfortunate. It deals a decent chunk of damage and we lose our Assault Vest, which is not great for Spectrier in the endgame. But we're going to fire off our Headlong Rush here. That is a dead Metagross. That is absolutely a dead Metagross. An amazing start for me. A turn 1 KO with my Ursaluna versus Metagross. One of the scariest Pokemon in this matchup. Already, this is such a phenomenal start for me, and I am really liking how this game is going so far. And I know regardless, I'm probably going to end up switching out Ursaluna here, so now it just becomes a question of, okay, what Pokemon is coming in here? We're going to see Jester. The Jester is actually going to be the Sneasler. So I'm like, okay, I have the perfect switch in for this. Bronzong is literally built to switch in against this attack. So I'm going to, it's max HP, max defense with the Rocky Helmet, I have Zen Headbutt, I have a bunch of moves that Bronzong can just use to really punish this team. I'm going to go into Bronzong here. Let's go for it. So, I switch in Bronzong, and then we see a close combat, I'm like, I can take this easy. And I lose half of my HP. And that's when I realize, oh crap, this thing is banded. So this is a Choice Banded Sneasler locked into close combat, and I am extremely terrified. It also probably has Poison Touch from this situation here, so I'm like, okay, crap. This is not good. What do I do here? And then I kind of realize this just pretty much leads to a sack. I have to sack something here. Choice Band and Sneasler makes a lot of sense in this game because I don't have a Ghost type. That's my main criticism of this current draft as it stands, and I might end up picking a Ghost type up later on, but we'll see. Sorry. But as of right now, I don't have a Ghost type, so Choice Band in close combat is just a very free button click. I decided to go for a Zen Headbutt just in case they switch out, or I think anyways, I'm like, I don't want to let anything else go down here. Bronzong was literally brought just for this Pokemon mainly, so I'm like, you know what, if Bronzong can't even wall this, then there's no point in me keeping it around. I'm going to click Zen Headbutt just in case they throw. They go for another close combat, which picks up the KO, but that also gives me more chip against this Pokemon, which is always very valuable. And then we lose our Bronzong. Not a great start, but I do have other Pokemon that can help take advantage of that. I have Grimmsnarl with Thunder Wave and Reflect here that I can safely go into. I can also go into Guitar Hero, which resists the close combats, and I can live a close combat, and this gives me a free Shift Gear, because then I can just fire off a Psychic Noise next turn and KO this thing. So I decided I'm going to go into Guitar Hero, and I'm like, you know what? I think this is my time. I'm just going to play Hyper Aggressive. We're already playing extremely Hyper Aggressive with these first several turns. I might as well just click Shift Gear here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Shift Gear here. But needing to keep in mind, I do not want to Terra here because they could be going for another close combat. So eventually, I'm like, okay, I'm going to click Shift Gear. And if you noticed, I accidentally clicked the Terra button. And now I'm terrified and realized immediately what I just done. I'm like, crap, I clicked the Terra button, I might die here. If they stay in and go for a CC, I'm a dead man. So I am panicking at this current moment in time. I'm like, oh crap, I might just lose to this Pokemon now. And fortunately, they end up swapping out. This was almost a major throw though, because there was no reason for me to Terra here at this point. I should have just always clicked Shift Gear every single time without Terraing, and then I go for the Boom Burst after the Terra Normal Boom Burst after that to trigger my Throat Spray. Thankfully, again, my opponent swapped out. That was almost a game-throwing mistake there. So, and I literally said in the recording as well, I do not want to click the Terra button here. And then I clicked it anyways, and then immediately after I clicked it, I was like, oh crap, I didn't mean to Terra. Oh god. And then, yeah. So thankfully though, we got out of this okay. This gives me a free chance to click Boom Burst. All of these moves are sound-based attacks. And, which I think like week 2, when I brought this thing, I had Thunderbolt. I should have had Overdrive because Overdrive is a sound-based attack. But, you know what, you live and you learn. So we go for the Boom Burst here, bada bing, bada boom. I'm hoping to see a KO, but I'm not fully expecting it. And we see that it almost KOs, which is crazy. We also trigger our Throat Spray as well, and now I'm just kind of like, I should be able to take a hit from this thing, and we should be fine. We're going to see an Earth Power here, which we do eat up for days, and we are just kind of chilling. So, because I fired off the Boom Burst, I know, like, Spectrier, you know, could come in here, so I'm just going to go for the Psychic Noise to prevent healing, to prevent all that fun stuff as well, and also because Garchomp is a ground type, so I'm like, Psychic Noise is the best case scenario for me. If Iron Jugulus comes in, it's not going to want to take a Boom Burst, and we're just kind of chilling at this point. So I decided to go for the Psychic Noise here just because I can. I don't want the Spectrier switching in for free on a Boom Burst. Not that I think that they would do that, but you know, just to be safe. So after thinking for a while, then my opponent does just decide to let Garchomp go down. They might have been hoping that I go for an Overdrive, predicting a swap. But thankfully, I went for the right play here. Garchomp goes down, and we are chilling. We also reveal that we have a way to hit Sneasler. I mean, but the range teaser is that, like, Boom Burst would always KO anyways, but we can also prevent healing with certain Pokemon as well, which is obviously very nice indeed. And now, I'm just kind of chilling here. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. I'm kind of chilling. I'm just here, vibing. So, I have to wait and see what my opponent switches in next. So, after a while, my opponent sends in Hazel, which is none other than Spectrier, which immediately shocks me. I'm like, okay, I'm okay with this. I click Overdrive here. So I go ahead and click Overdrive, especially since the ground type is gone. This thing almost drops, which is crazy. We see a Psychic here. I'm like, oh crap, this might KO me. And it doesn't! I can't remember if this was like an item boosting attack or not, unfortunately, but this was, that was absolutely a roll, I'm pretty sure from what I remember. So the fact that we lived that was amazing. Granted, we still had Ursaluna in the back, we still had Grimmsnarl in the back, we weren't completely dead, we still had Colossal in the back too. So like, you know, we weren't completely ruined by this, but the Spectrier going down here immediately is amazing as well, and now I've realized my opponent's win con here is Sneasler. It's always going to be Sneasler at this point in the game, so now I just have to be very careful about how I play around that. We're going to see Big Jugs, the Iron Jugulus come in, and that scares me, obviously. So we're going to see a Booster Energy, and it's Booster Speed. So I'm like, oh crap. I think I might not outspeed this thing. And after doing some calcs, I realized that, in fact, I probably don't outspeed this thing, unfortunately, because I didn't have enough speed to outspeed a booster speed Iron Jugulus here, because I wasn't expecting this to be how the game was played out. I'm not gonna lie. So had my opponent gone into this, their Spectrier would still be alive at this point, but it is what it is. I'm just like, okay, do I want to save this thing? And then I realized, no, there's no point in me saving this thing because I'm at red HP. I'm not going to be able to switch in safely against anything, so I'm just going to let this thing go down. They do, in fact, outspeed me. They go for the Dark Pulse, and unfortunately, our Guitar Hero falls, but not after claiming a couple of very critical and important lives, and also saving us from a Sneasler sweep. So, very, very amazing from us as well here. And here I can just go into my Colossal, because Colossal is just a very free switch in here, because this Colossal is max HP, max def. I can just kind of take on everything. If they want to try to switch into Sneasler or something like that, I can go for a Will-O-Wisp, which is in fact the button I click here, because I'm like, might as well. They don't have Hazards currently. Their only Pokemon remaining are Iron Jugulus, Sneasler, and the Indeedee. Both Terra Captains are still alive. They haven't clicked the Terra button yet, so I do have to keep that in mind as well. This still could be a decent struggle for me. Particularly Grimmsnarl not being able to set up because of Prankster might be terrifying against Sneasler, so I do have to keep that in mind. Also, the fact that Sneasler resists both of Grimmsnarl's move. Actually, no, it doesn't resist Spirit Break. It's neutral with Spirit Break. We are going to see an Earth Power here. I'm not going to lie, I did forget about Earth Power here. I'm like, my mode is going to switch out. It's fine. And then I forgot about Earth Power. So I go ahead and Will-O-Wisp this thing. I think I should not have gone into this Pokemon in hindsight. I think maybe Ursaluna would have been the better switch here or something like that. I think also, yeah, I think Ursaluna probably would have been the better swap here, but it is what it is. I could have also just gone for Power Gem. They didn't even Terra this Pokemon, so I could have just gone for Power Gem and just gotten a lot of damage off on this thing. So that was another big throw on my end. I think I should have just always clicked Power Gem, even if, like, Sneasler was going to swap in, because realistically, there was no way Sneasler was going to switch in against the Colossal. Even though it's great fodder, it still doesn't make that much sense because of the fact that, you know, I could have Will-O-Wisp, like I did here. And Will-O-Wisp is a fairly common ability or move for Colossal to run. Granted, we are getting a lot of decent chip, which is great, and, you know, this thing is burned now, which is also very great. But now I'm like, okay, well, I probably shouldn't have done that. But I now have a pretty big choice to make. I can go into Grimmsnarl here, but I'm scared of the Terra Fairy. Same thing with Gouging Fire, and Mudbath. Mudbath could still be decent for a couple of other Pokemon, but in reality, Mudbath is still the safest play for me to make here. Yes, I did lose my Assault Vest, so I'm not going to be able to tank special hits as much, but I can still scare this thing out pretty easily, in all honesty. All I have to do is click Avalanche or Smackdown if I really want to, and in case they don't Terra. I do kind of wish they did Terra at this point, so that way I would know what the Terra Captain is, but I'm like, you know what, it's fine. I'm just going to click Avalanche here, and we're going to have a good time. And hopefully we'll burn the Terra. That's kind of my goal here at this point. So after trying to decide what they wanted to do for a while, they do opt to switch out this Pokemon, and they go into Indeedee. And I'm like, crap, they went into Indeedee. That is what it is. I was hoping not to see this Pokemon quite yet, because I still wanted to set up with Grimmsnarl, but it is what it is. We are going to go for an Avalanche here, and maybe really wish I clicked a different move, but we still do half to this thing, which is really solid damage. And now I'm like, okay, this is fine. It is what it is. I can go for a Headlong Rush here. I can go for a Facade. Facade will always KO this thing. I think Facade's my safest play to make, because Headlong Rush, they, you know, still could switch into the other Pokemon, the Iron Jugulus. We're just going to see an Expanding Force here, and which will, unfortunately... Oh, actually, it doesn't. Never mind. I lied. Haha, I lied. I forgot it didn't KO. So Indeedee just goes down to a Facade here. Very, very nice. Once again, very hyper-offensive game being played here. If Sneasler comes in, we're still in an okay situation because Gouging Fire is able to take any hit from this thing, and if they try to go for a Dire Claw, which is a possibility, I have the Lumberry specifically for Dire Claw / Poison Touch Sneasler, so this is fine. We also see this Pokemon come in, which again, is fine. It's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. At this point, I just have to accept the fact that my Ursaluna is going to go down here, which is fine. The other really nice thing about this Pokemon being swapped out, though, it no longer has the booster speed. So even if it's Terra Fairy, I can still go for a Dragon Dance on my Gouging Fire, outspeed everything, and just win the game from here. So at this point, the second they swapped out Iron Jugulus, basically was a game set match for me at this point. We're just going to see another Earth Power, which will KO me here, unfortunately, but Ursaluna did what it needed to do, tanking the Expanding Force from Indeedee, which was phenomenal for me, and now I can just go into Gouging Fire for free and just start clicking buttons. So I immediately swap into Mufasa, the Gouging Fire, and I'm like, this is the best endgame for me possible. I can just go for a Dragon Dance here. I outspeed the Sneasler guaranteed after a 1 Dragon Dance because of the fact that they are not Choice Scarf or Unburden or anything like that, because I know for a fact at this point that they are in fact Banded. and even if they're not, I could still always tank a hit from that thing and then KO in return, and there is no chance of me getting paralyzed or put to sleep or anything like that because I do have the Lumberry. So at this point, I'm basically game, set, match. And we're going to see here that they do reveal that they do Terra their Iron Jugulus, and it is going to be, spoiler alert, it is going to be Terra Fairy Iron Jugulus. I think they were hoping to catch a Dragon move. But I learned from my mistake in week 1 of this league, and I did not click the Dragon button. I clicked the, well, I did click a Dragon button, but it was Dragon Dance, not Dragon Claw. So we are going to see an Earth Power here, which does do half, and I'm a little bit scared at this point that somehow, maybe this thing will outspeed me still. But thankfully, they won't outspeed me at this point. Mufasa just wins the game, because I can KO this thing, I can also stall with Morning Sun if I really wanted to. But obviously there's no reason for me to do that, and even then I think it'd still do a bit too much damage anyway. So I just go for Heat Crash here to KO this thing. This thing is always in range because of my +1 attack, and it just goes down. And at this point, fate is sealed. Sneasler cannot outspeed this Pokemon. We win the game. Now, granted, they could have Fake Out or like priority or something like that, but you'll notice the terrain is still up. So they can't even go for a priority move, so we are just kind of chilling now. They are going to go into Sneasler, but that's not going to save them. We win this game 2-0. Grimmsnarl never hit the field. It never had to because the main checks for it just died to other Pokemon. The main checks that it was meant to check died to other Pokemon, I should say. And at this point, we just win the game. And I think they're trying to count just to see how much damage they can do, but we just go for Heat Crash, bada bing, bada boom. Dead Sneasler, GG's to my opponent, we win the game. A very, very massive win for us to be sure. And yeah, we're going 3-0 in the league so far, which is really amazing for me in terms of momentum. And I'm very happy, but it honestly took me by surprise how well we're doing in this league so far, but I'm definitely not complaining. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. I apologize for the post commentary, but hopefully next week there should be live commentary again, so be looking forward to that. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you soon! Oh, also, before I forget, check out my opponents and their video down in the description below. Very, very highly encourage you to check them out and show them all the love and support. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace out, mates!